You know, I've been waiting. I've been waiting to do the Michael Barrick video. By the way, Gear Talk every other Thursday at 5 o'clock. But we're talking about Barrick today. For all of you who don't know, Barrick is one of my personal favorite characters in all of Gears of War. I believe he is in my top 3. Because I believe it would go, I think if I'm correct, it's been a long time since I did the list, but I believe it went Dizzy, then it went Clay, and I think Barrick was number 3. I love Michael Barrick. He is such a fun character. He's the stoic, not stoic, that's the wrong word, brooding. He is brooding. He is the brooding badass of the group that's just, chain smoke my cigars and... yeah, let's see what happens next. That kind of dude. Like, an old school biker kind of is what we get. And also, he was based on Lemmy flippin' Kilmeister, the fucking poster child for Motorhead. You know Motorhead? Anyone professional wrestling fans out there that hasn't listened to just heavy metal in general? Triple H, King of Kings, The Game. That's Lemmy Kilmeister. That's Motorhead. Amazing dude. He passed away. It's so sad. But we're not here for Lemmy. Although maybe one day we'll make a Lemmy video. I don't know. But we're here for Michael Barrick. So let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend himself. Let's get into it. Talking about Michael Barrick. So, his story actually basically, timeline-wise, starts off with Alima. So we do get some stuff with his past that he brings up now and then when we talk about Michael Barrick, but it's mostly stuff that he says off the cuff mainly. One thing, like, for instance, he was once married, had an ex-wife. What else? He always liked to chain smoke cigars. He was a delinquent in high school. That's what we get from him. The earliest we get, though, mentioning that leads into everything involving his character that we cover, would basically be when he was a stranded. Now, when he was stranded, after the hammers dropped and everything, and he was living on his own, he lived as a stranded, as you do when you're stranded, and he basically just lived as kind of like a squatter, even, because he makes it known that, like, he had his own little area, his own little house, got destroyed by the COG, and he ended up joining the COG. He became a part of the COG after that. Not because he liked the COG, but in his own words, basically it gave him something to do. It seemed more interesting than being stranded, so he became a COG. He joined the Lifeboat Initiative. He never had any family or anything. We know characters like Dizzy, they joined the Lifeboat Initiative because they had family that needed help. They had situations where they couldn't make it or cut it as a stranded, so they joined Operation Lifeboat with the COG, and they helped out with the families. But Michael didn't do it. He joined because he just wanted to. He did it for funsies. That's all he did it for. And I love it. It's so flippin' hilarious. I love it so much. Now we go through and we kind of just get to the events of Shadow of Rom. We don't get a lot of what he was a part of before Zeta. We don't even know if Zeta was his first squad. It could have been his first squad for all we know. But he joins up with Zeta and he is with the evacuation of Alima. Now, when everything happens here, the evacuation of Alima, it's basically just we're getting the civilians out of Alima and we're getting them to safety because there is a massive krill storm that is coming to the city. It is being heavily attacked by the locusts. We need to get people out. The krill are starting to come. Can't have that happening. Too many casualties. An entire city's worth of people passing. So their job is to start getting people out. Now, while they're helping get people out, this is when the locusts come up to their door. They start attacking where they are during their evacuation. This is the scene we have where, like we talked with Ty's video, where Ty is giving the kid his ball and he's leaving and they're defending that area. Basically, it's fight off all the locusts and start pulling back to go and help out with Echo Squad, they're told. With Echo Squad, we get it that they have to go help out another squad that's been doing evacuations. They've been cut off from comms, the last known location they're given. On the way there, this is where we get a lot more of Barrick's character and what he talks about when it comes to his views or what he feels towards the Locust. It's no song and dance question that most humans, almost all humans, I think all humans, are not fans of the Locust. No one likes the Locust. Doesn't matter if you're stranded. Doesn't matter if you're COG, Grozny. Does not matter. Everyone just hates locusts, and Michael Barrick is no exception. He hates them, and while they're going and they're helping with the evacuations, going to check on Echo, this is where he chimes in and starts talking about things, where he's a very frustrated character when it comes to evacuations or pulling away. What Michael wants the most, what Barrick aims for, is that he wants to take the fight to them. He's tired of evacuation. He wants to be on the front lines, face-to-face, fighting them. That is what he wants, in general. Now, we get a lot more from the game in this aspect. The comic-wise, we'll get to the comics, but basically, he, what's the right way to put it? Anything could happen and Michael would just be fine with it. This one, he's more engaged, But from the comics, he's more like, I'll kill them all if I have to, but someone give me direction first. That's basically it. In this one, you really get the feeling like he's a dog on a leash and he wants to do something, but COG regulations, COG orders. He's not a fan of that, but he has to play by the rules because he is a COG soldier now. They do find Echo 5, and they're able to fight the area that they're in, live. Echo doesn't make it, but they're able to make it out. So Echo is basically just a lost cause at that point, but they are able to get out of there, and now they are going to go and check on the bank situation to see if there is anybody else left alive that they're able to evacuate. They go through to the bank, and they go looking for anyone that might still be left, anything like that. There's no one that's left alive. It's already been gutted out, taken care of. Barrick mentions during everything that the vaults are underground, and the locusts are coming from underground, so there's a very strong possibility there's not going to be anything when we get there. And he is right. The locusts have already started coming through. There is one survivor, though, that makes it out of the bank alive, though. They come across a character known as Jace Stratton. Now, Jace is getting hyped up a lot. We talked about it in the Ty video. This one we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about him in the other ones with his relation to everyone. But Jace and Michael have a very interesting relationship. It's very, how do I put it? So, him and Ty had a relationship of kind of, they saw eye to eye on things, but when it comes to Barrick, Jace always kind of saw Barrick as like his mentor or saw him as like a big brother figure. That's how it was always seen. Once they find Jace, they bring Jace with because like we're trying to evacuate, we're going to get you out of here. And they fight their way through the bank and they get out finally where there is an evac convoy that's currently making its way out. They're able to get Jace onto it and they can get him out of there. Before he's able to get out though and they load everyone, they have to take out the rest of the Cedars because comms are bad and a Brumok comes. And trust me when I tell you this, Barrick ain't no pushover. He'll take a Brumok on face first, and he will not ask questions. They take care of all of it. The Brumok does go down. He does defeat it. This is not his last time he'll deal with them. And everything's cleared out, and the evac begins. Upon the request of Jace, who asked Kim, Barrick being there and hearing all of it too, everyone in Zeta did, he wanted to go and make sure that his, basically like, surrogate father, not his adoptive father, but the head of the orphanage, Wizen, his name is, he wanted to make sure that he was all right and the people that he had were also taken care of. Because Jace was kept at the orphanage with everyone else that was parentless from the Locust Wars or anything like that. Wizen was a very kind man and did that. When he goes and they look through everything and they see that there might still be survivors, they do decide that they're going to go and check for the sake of not only Jace, but the people that might still be there for evacuation. They do make their way to the high school, the last known location where Wizen's survivor group were found when they were going to evac everyone. When they get there, it seems like it's basically desolate and there's no one there. Kim even states that, you know, we haven't heard from them in a while, but it's best to check just to be safe. No one did do a check-in, so we're going to go and check. It's desolate, it's empty. You learn more about Barrick here, about how he was when he was younger. You learned that when he was in high school, he was like the class outcast. He was like the one that people didn't really talk to or deal with, and he was also like the delinquent. That's how he evolved into what he is now. It makes you wonder what kind of life he would have had for the rest of his life before the Locust rose up, because he was probably in his early to mid 30s when the Locust probably showed up. So he's been fighting and living for a while, even as a stranded. This is 9 or 10 AE, so he's almost got a decade living and staying alive. They continue to travel through the high school. You also learn about him, how he was stranded, and what it was like to be stranded. You learn that, like I said, he joined basically just to have something to do. He didn't really live a major life as a stranded, or he didn't live anything productive. Like, you have characters like Griffin, and you also have characters like Franklin, you have characters like that who tried to at least like form their own societies or their own civilizations and they became leaders. Barrick really wasn't doing any of that. He kind of he was stranded and he didn't agree with the COG, but he did choose to just live by his own rules. You learn that basically as a stranded, that's just how he lived, just every day by day until everything was destroyed and he had nothing else to do. So that's why he became a COG soldier. Now, while they're going through and doing that, you also get him and you get Kim in a clash of ideals. And this happens quite a bit with him and Kim. What it is the fact that Kim has always been by the book COG, always believing the COG is correct, the COG is right. Whatever the COG is doing, they are doing it correctly. There is a reason to it, even if it seems like it's wrong. Barrick does not see it that way, not only because he had a stranded background, but because he just does not like the cog, period. So there is a situation while they're going through the school, they come to a destroyed classroom, bodies everywhere, and basically he's looking around and saying, like, this was your cog. The cog was the one who sent them here, and they died. And Kim is basically like, the cog have the reasons they do this. And Barry's like, the cog destroyed my home. The cog is the reason that the entire world's on fire. The cog, yeah, I'm here with them because you gave me no other choice. That's why we're in this mess. That's what your cog has done for me. That's what the cog has done to many people. That's the cog. And it's always like that with Barrick and Kim. Even in the later stuff, they're still arguing, but they're still squad mates, you know? They're still going to keep each other safe. They're still going to fight and survive together. You know, it's not like he would ever leave Kim, and I don't believe Kim would ever leave Barrick. Even though Kim can be a real hard-ass, he would never do that. They are making their way through. They're getting word throughout the speakers that Wisen is saying, you know, make your way over to the principal's office, because he is also the principal of the high school, and we're going to get you evacuated to safety. That's our current plan here at the school. As you go through the level, you do learn from the PA system that comes on again. There was a change of plans. Everyone get to the gymnasium so we can start getting you out of there, and we can start getting you to the orphanage where the actual evacuation area for Wisen's group is. So he's been trying to shuttle. Originally when the school was there, he was getting everyone together there. But when everything fell through and the locusts were encroaching more, they did decide to move, and he's like, we need to just get everyone over to the orphanage if we can do that. Now, while they're going through, they do learn that the locusts were a lot closer than they thought. A lot of people did not make it to even the gymnasium. A lot of people passed, a lot of people died. They do make it to the gymnasium, however, and see it is a slaughter. There are so many people that have passed and have died, and you basically see out the doors, a berserker is behind a lot of this. So my assumption for the school is not only did the locusts come in, just swing through and just take out as many as they could, they kind of left the berserker behind at the end just to kind of clear out any survivors that might be left. While they're going through, they have to fight the berserker. They get it out of the school. They're able to destroy it and kill it outside using a very smart method that I never really thought would be possible, but it worked. They had the berserker run through and blow up a bunch of cars by impact, and then once it's set on fire, that's when they started unloading into it, because for anyone who forgets, the berserkers, even though their armor is very dense and it cannot be penetrated, once it is heated, it becomes very soft. So, how they saw it was, okay, it's on fire from the cars, let's just unload into it, and it works. And Barrick makes a very sly quip about his ex-wife, just says, uglier than my ex-wife, really. They look up into the sky and they see that, okay, we're almost out of time, the Krill have been taking the skies. We need to get to the orphanage and make sure everything's okay. On the way to the orphanage, they do have to go through many areas. They do go through City Hall. While they're making their way through City Hall, which these areas of the level, for the game in general, they don't really play a large role into the story itself, other than giving you some information on how close we are till the sky is inked and the Krill storm has begun. While they're going through City Hall, the comms are jammed, so they try and get them out. They start taking out cedars. They get onto the manual controlled Hammer of Dawn, which I love. The concept in 3 for that was great. In 3 Shadow of Ram, when they introduced it, I love it. It was amazing. Because you just sit there and you're just unloading on a mini camera. It was amazing. But they go through, they finally get the area cleared out, and they're finally making their way further on. They have to go through the construction zone, and that's when they learn the Krill Storm itself, you have 20 minutes before the sky is completely inked, and we have to leave you behind. At this point, Ty, Kim, Valera, and Barrick, they are the last squad, the only squad that is currently in Alima. All the other soldiers have evacuated or have died. There are other soldiers we see that are in the city, but they are probably left behind or they couldn't make it themselves. So they accepted their fate and they just stayed to fight. Because you have it where, as the entire level is going, you're getting the background of what's going on, how much time is left. Because it is stated, you guys don't have a lot of time to even do this, but they go and do it anyway. As they're going through, you get heads up from, Barrick when they learn about Onyx Guard that's going in. This town has to be very far gone. This has to be a very bad situation if the Onyx Guard have to step in right now for combat. Because the Onyx Guard do not step into combat in normal military situations unless they have to. They do not step in. If they are here right now, something's going on. And we learn what it is. It's because General Flippin' Rom is in the city. Like, yeah, you're going to send the Onyx Guard out if you have to. And that's what they do, and they all die. But Barrick does have that idea. They are all kept in check of the time frame is getting smaller. And the construction site, you have 20 minutes, but they keep pushing through because they just want to get to the orphanage. Honestly, they want to see if anyone's at the orphanage is their main go-to. Because if they're at the orphanage, we can get them out. If not, we need to get ourselves out of here as quick as possible. They do make it through the construction zone. They do make it all the way to the orphanage. And this is where they see that Wisen's group did survive. They're all fine. They were able to schedule an evac to come and grab them at the last moment. So you have Jace there who steps out of the evac APC to see that, okay, Wisen's still here. We're going to get everyone loaded. We're going to get out of here because he just wanted to make sure that Wisen was okay. Jace is very straightforward headed on that matter. As they're getting everyone out of there, they're preparing for everyone to take off. The Locusts have now made their way to the orphanage and they are now attacking. They have slowly crept their way in. Rom is now on the scene. It is now a full-on battle. You have Zeta defending the orphanage. Everyone has now been brought back into the orphanage to keep them safe. And it is just the 4 members of Zeta, plus Jace who gets left behind with them. And it's a battle. Jace did not make it out on the APC because he came back and he wanted to stay to protect his own, as he says, so he's staying out there to fight. Rom comes through at this point behind the battle. While they're fighting them off on the streets here, Rom is behind them and gets a hold of Jace. Jace is about to be murdered, Kim style, you know what that means, when Valera is able to get him out of the way and takes the fight head on with him. It does not last more than 3 seconds, and Valera is brutally murdered. When this is done and you learn about what happens, Kim sees it. Everyone, including Barrick, turns around, full focus unloading on Rom. And at that moment, Rom is like, okay, that's a lot of bullets, and he scampers off to fight off of his Reaver. But this is where the battle now begins, with Valera now passed, and Jace has now taken her role. Barrick is there with him, and again, like, Jace is just a child at this point. He's probably only like 16 or 17. And Barrick is like, are you sure you know how to use this? Because he's holding the he's holding the Lancer, okay? He just picked this up off of the ground, and he's like, and Barrick sees, like, do you know how to? Do you know what you're doing? And he fires off, and he kills a Locust. And Barrick looks at him and just says, make her proud. And the battle continues, and he is now joining Zeta as they fight through. The bridge gets destroyed to the orphanage, so they have to take the long way around. And they're fighting their way through to get back to the orphanage to get everyone out of there. When they finally make their way through, they're going through the tunnel, the water tunnel system, kind of like the levee system. They come across the Theron Elite, the one that can control Krill, and Barrick is one of the first ones to take notice of this, and Barrick does not know how to really understand what's going on. They make it through, they take out the Theron Elite, they finally make their way back around, and this is when the fight with Rom truly begins. Rom is taking them on with some of his grunts that are coming in and helping him out. While the battle goes on, they're holding their own, they're trying to make sure that the Reaver is not getting close. They are able to finally take down the Reaver. Rom gets off, and they are now face-to-face fighting General Rom. And I'll give it to you, I'll tell you right now, Zeta Squad does it. Zeta actually takes out Rom. The fight goes on. It's a close fight. It's an intense fight. Rom is finally taken down. He gets on his Reaver. It's brought down, crashes down. The Reaver is gone for good now. And Rom is now pinned in the debris and the damage and the rubble that he landed in. Kim gives orders for Barrick and the others to get on the chopper and evacuate. They were able to get a Raven in that can get everyone out. The last possible area that's open in the sky. And while Barrick is helping get everyone in, Kim takes it upon himself to first off get Valera's tags and go and take care of Rom personally. He gets out there and he realizes Kim is not here. He can see from the roof what he's doing. He goes back down and takes a hold of Kim to get him out of there personally. Kim was playing to finish the job for Valera's sake. He was a bit just bloodthirsty at that point towards Rom. Barrick is the one that saves Kim. Now, I've always brought up Kim would probably not survive this one-on-one fight even with an injured Rom. I will tell you right now, I'm fairly certain Barrick saved his life, okay? He says, not today, no, we gotta get out of here, and he gets Kim out of there, and Kim actually listens. But yeah, I will tell you right now, if it was not for Barrick, I am 100% certain Kim would be dead at this moment. He would not have made it to the original Gears of War. They're able to get Kim back onto the Raven for them to get out, and they all leave Ilima now. They are the final squad to leave. They are out the last moment. Like, literally, like, the sky is just like, I want to say it's probably like a good 50 foot by 50 foot hole in the sky. They barely make it out before everything's going to happen. Rom survives. Everyone except for Valera makes it out. This is where we have the scene where Barrick gets on. He's on the Raven while they're evacuating. He gets one of his cigars out, and he's patting himself to find his lighter. He can't find it anywhere until you see across from where he's sitting. Jace pulls out the lighter and he lights it for him. He looks Jace right in the eye and he says, "You're gonna make a hell of a gear, kid." As we learn from Jace, he does become quite a gear. Continuing forward though, from the events of Shadow of Rom, in only around 9 or 10 AE, we jump around 3 to 4 years in the future, and we are now over at Timgod. So Timgod is an area that he was stationed with Echo 9. He was there with another soldier by the name of Jonathan Harper. Jonathan Harper is another comic character we get a lot of. Before Barrick was in the DLCs, he was a very heavy comic book character, Barrick was. It was referenced also that in the original Gears of War 3 Shadow of Rom, Jonathan Harper was supposed to be taking the place of Kim, I believe. So Jonathan Harper is another of those characters that people from the comics have been very badly wanting to see. But we just don't get a lot of Harper after the comic series is completely finished and we move on to the new stuff like Hive Busters and Rise of Rom. We don't really get too much more of Harper after that. But once we get to this point, he is actually stationed there with Harper when they're at Timgod. When everything happens, when the train goes in, the light mass bomb is set off, that is around the Timgod area. They are around that area. When it goes off, now they're battling there, but the emulsion fumes that come up from that bomb go directly into all of them. You have characters like, again, Barrick, you have Harper, you have another character that's mentioned later on, Nash. Nash was also a part of his squad. Nash also got a lot of it, and they all three suffer from rust lung now. Out of all three of them, the longest that was around, I believe, actually the longest one was Harper. That's a funny story, we'll get to that another time, but Harper was the one that lasted the longest out of the three with rust lung. It would have been just like a few months later that Harper would have went, so that's how it looks for, how close. Like, you don't last long with rust lung, you either die right away or it lasts a very long time and you don't get symptoms until way later on. That was his time in Echo 9, that was how he got rust lung. That is covered during the events of Gears of War, the first one. That is how he got it, he mentions it quite a bit in the comics to Marcus. So, going from here, we now jump into the series known as Hollow. This is the comic series Barrick is very well known for and where he was first introduced. Barrick in this story is a biggity badass. He is beyond words for how amazing he is. When we first get Hollow, we bring ourselves into the Pira Badlands. The Pira Badlands in this area is where he is a part of Echo 6. So we had Echo 9, they disbanded, he's now part of Echo 6. So in Echo 6, he's with a few other people, and it's the situation of, like, after the events of Gears of War, there are some missions where people are sent out to find other survivors of squads, or like, we haven't heard from this squad, this is where they were last found. We're going to see if anyone's still around, what's happened to them. They go through and learn that Echo 6 has been wiped out, except for a certain Michael Barrick. He is found by Delta 1. Delta 1 at this time in the story is Marcus Phoenix, Dominic Santiago, Gil Gonzalez, and Jace Stratton. More on their relationship in a moment. When they're going through, they do find him, and they realize that he is the last one alive. He states he's the last one alive, and while they're traveling, he now joins Delta, and they're going through, and they take a rest for the night, and this is where they're able to just kind of tell stories and get people caught up. They tell Barrick the story about how Marcus went through in the emulsion facility in the first game, and he makes the statement, "Never bring me underground," which we'll touch on that in a moment also. Right now, I think is the best time to talk about the Jason Barrick continuity issue, or how they see one another, their relationship. Consider this a mini so-and-so's relationship kind of video. So, Jason Barrick are actually very close characters. For the fact that not only did Zeta save Jace, but Barrick, like I said earlier, is kind of like the big brother figure, while Valera was like the big sister figure to him. He went through and fought with them. Valera died. He took up Valera's Lancer and fought alongside them. Barrick was right there with him. He was basically like watching out for Jace, but at the same time trusted Jace. So they fought through. They made it out of there, and Jace got his lighter on the Raven that was going out and lit his cigar for him. As far as we're aware, it's never really stated anywhere, that lighter that Jace had at that time, that's the same lighter. That is Barrick's lighter from Gears 5. Gears 5, you can get that collectible. It's Barrick's, and it looks the exact same. And that just tells you, like, so let's say, like, 25 years of peace you have, and then add on 3 years from there, you get like the events of Ilima. You're saying like 28 years he carried Barrick's lighter with him. And if it's not even 28, it will be 25 after he sees him again in the comics. Now in the comics, they don't really talk to one another like they know each other. But also if you look at the time frame, it's been 3 to 4 years since Ilima. Jace is now a gear. I'm under the impression, this is my headcanon that I'm thinking is the best like explanation. I want to assume they've seen each other a bit more since Ilima. Like, once Jace joined, they probably saw each other, talked a bit. So, when he meets him again in Hollow, when he meets him and he's the last one of Echo 6, they never talk to each other like, oh, it's nice to see you for the first time, Barrick. I'm Jace. I've never met you before. That's never stated. They never introduce one another. They just kind of just roll with it like, oh, yeah, we came to get you, and it's like that. He does state, like, oh, the rookie, like, he talks to Jace like he's a rookie, which, at this time, Jace would be a rookie. Marcus and Dom, they don't know that they have met before. So, as far as I'm concerned, they knew each other. This was a situation where we've already talked to each other, we already know it. Oh, hey, look, it's Jace, he's on this mission. Okay. That's how I see it. That's how I perceive all of it. And Jace, you know, for him, I would assume the same thing because he understands who Barrick is and how he acts. I would assume, you know, you carry a gear on someone's, like, keepsake for 25 years. You must have some feelings of, like, this person was very important to me. So, I don't think this was a situation of, like, I'll remember Barrick by carrying around this lighter. No, he very much cared about Barrick, and Barrick probably cared a lot for Jace. They were brothers in arms. They escaped Ilima together. It's one of those things where it's a continuity error, but you can kind of still see a way it can work. There's not some way where it just doesn't. Like in Judgment, Gears of War Judgment, they have the Lancers. The Lancers aren't supposed to exist yet, and even the creators of Judgment said, we put them in for fun. It's a Gears of War game. Yeah, they're not supposed to be there. That's one of the only times the continuity is like, dead set, this can't happen. Here, you can kind of finagle a way it works. While they're traversing the lands and they're going on, we have the situation of where there is an ambush that takes place. When the ambush happens, everyone is fighting everyone off. You have situations where Marcus is a badass throwing explosives. Barrick starts cutting people in half from either the bottom section or top section. He cuts a dude's skull down the middle like it's a goddamn Subway sandwich. He does all of that. It's a bloody mess. Barrick is not, like, he's not squeamish, he is not afraid to get very violent and not show a shred of, like, either sadness, anger, joy, no emotion, just, it's another day killing, and that's what I'm gonna do. And that's why I love it so much. He will mess your shit up just because he feels like it, and there's no feeling of money. He's like, I'm just going to kick your ass. That's what I'm going to do. And he kicks your ass. That's Barrick's character. During this entire battle, though, you do have Gil Gonzalez, who ends up taking a shot to the shoulder pretty badly, and he's bleeding out, and he does sustain enough damage and injury and bleed out where he has passed on. He is now dead. Guild passes here. During this fight, you have the entire scenario where they do take out everyone there and they decide they are going to bring Guild back with them, back to Jacinto, because they already found Barrick. They did their job. They found a survivor and they're bringing him back to Jacinto. They were already heading there, so it's like, well, we can't just leave him here. Let's bring him back. We're already going back to where the burial would be. Burial is a strong word. We're going to get to that right now, really. They get back to Jacinto, and how it's done for the COG, how funerals work, is that it's basically a giant fire. So they take all the people who have passed or deceased or soldiers or anything, they throw it in the center of the city, kind of. It looks like a pyre itself. And they light all the bodies on fire. The reasoning in the inner monologue we have, I believe it's from Dom's inner monologue, or Jace's. I think it's Jace's inner monologue, is that after what happened on E-Day, after everything, the people that have been passed, the Locust existing, they will never put their people underground again. That's kind of how they word it. Now, later on in 4, Marcus buries Anya, but that's also because it's on the family, like, it's on the Stroud estate. You know, at this time we thought everything involving the Locusts were done. But yeah, the COG does see it as, like, we're not putting our people down into the ground again. We're never going to do that. It's horrible what happened. We're not putting them down there where the monsters are coming from. Once this is all finished and done, they all are in Jacinto for a little while. They have some downtime, some R&R before they're given their next mission. This one they are sent to Montevideo, however you want to pronounce it. They end up going through and they're given the mission of you have to go and find what's causing this very abnormal seismic activity that's going on in Montevideo. Something is weird, something is wrong, it's not supposed to be giving off these readings. They even mention, like, yeah, the locusts give off seismic readings, but this is different than anything we've ever seen. So they go through, and as they're going, you get, like, this happened earlier, it happens now, and it happens at the end, where Marcus is alluding to, like, Barrick, those smoking's gonna kill you, man. Why you always got a cigar or a cigarette in your mouth? I mean, come on, man. What's wrong with you? You're always hacking up a lung and just coughing blood. Come on, man. Smoking's bad, okay? And Barrick always brings it up to him, like, very alludish of him. Just like, these aren't gonna kill me, or just like, war will kill me first. Things like that. We don't get until the very end where he explains what rust lung is to Marcus. While they're going and making their way there on the Raven that's taken them to Montevideo, they end up getting attacked. The Raven is shot down. The last ditch ever they have when the pilot is killed is Jace has some experience with a Raven. He's able to fly it. He can't land it. The landing is shot, so he just basically flies it right on into an E-hole. Barrick the whole time is freaked out because he doesn't like the idea of crashing and burning in a Raven. But when they get on the ground, he's like, damn, nice job, kid. I mean, you took out quite a bit of them. Good job. I liked it. Good job. So they go through. They are now traveling on foot. And I think it stated they were traveling on foot for like a day and a half to like a day or 2 days on foot to Montevideo. And while they're going, they come across another stranded that just so happens to come from a stranded outpost in another city. I don't know if I can say this city more than once, so I am going to say it now so it is out there. This is the only time I'll say the city because YouTube does not like it when people swear too much. This is the town of Fucked. This is what it's called that because that's what it is. That's the explanation that he gives. He makes a deal with them that says, like, look, we have a marauding band of locusts that have been coming through and causing problems. If you take care of them, we have an APC. You can have the APC if the locusts are gone and we're able to just live our lives and we are not attacked anymore. They take him up on the offer, make quick work of the locusts, and they learn that there is another girl that is at the city or the town. It's basically a town. It's what the name implies. They ask what's going on with her. Her family was in Montevideo. They will go and try and bring her back to her family. And the Stranded basically agree because she's not one of theirs, but they're watching her basically. And they say, yeah, go ahead. Take her there. So they get in the APC and they go off to Montevideo. While they're journeying and driving there, you have the situation where about, not even halfway, like 3/4 of the way to Montevideo, they are attacked by the locusts. The locusts rise up and they are attacking, and this time they brought a Brumach with. And Barrick already knows how to deal with these, but I will tell you right now, he brings it up in the comic, they do not have the firepower to take one down. So they basically start doing like scatter tactics to kind of just spread out where everyone is so it's not like he shoots and they take all of them out. And they're kind of just trying to buy and find a way, not even around, because they know they can't destroy it. That's the thing. They can't beat the Brumach, but they're trying to find a way to kind of subverge and get around and kind of just get away from it. They're trying to escape. They don't see a lot of options. At one point, 2 of them are pinned down. This is when a shot comes off from the distance, and it's a boom shot that blows off one of the arms of this Brumach. You look over, and it's the Cole train, baby! That's right. Cole's here. Why is Cole here? Well, that is an easy answer. He is with Sigma 1 right now, and Sigma 1 just so happens to also have a Barrick with, and he is driving Centaur through. With this going on, you learn that they were in the area just on their own mission, and they came across them. So it was just happen chance. Sigma 1, we also know, is the squad they're a part of when they get into Gears 2, but they're going through, they save them, and at this point, Barrick is kind of looking around the area, and he sees that there's rat bikes. I should also mention that the Brumach got crushed by rocks. Before you all wonder what happened to the Brumach's dead. After they kill it, he opens up this shed, and he finds 2 bikes in there. 2 rat bikes, they're called. Basically motorcycles, so they decide, well, if you guys can take the little girl back to Jacinto, there's no way we can bring her with at this point. Like, it's going to get too bad. We only have the bikes. So Cole and Baird bring her back, and they go on to Montevideo. Once they enter the city, they finally make it. They're there. They're trying to figure out what's going on. It is a ghost town. It is destroyed. There is nothing there. They are going through, and they start questioning, like, yeah, I understand that, like, the locusts aren't making these seismic readings, they're saying. I understand that. I get it. But why did they send us here without any equipment? Why did they send us here without an idea of what we're looking for? Everyone basically agrees, like, yeah, this isn't making sense. Marcus then tells everyone, like, we're here to do the mission, whatever. Let's see if we can find whatever they're looking for. He splits the group up. It is Barrick and Marcus, and then we have Jace and Dom split up into 2 separate groups to search the city. While they're going through, you have the situation where there's more coughing, and you have the explanation from Barrick now of, I have rust lung, this is what it does, it's going to kill me very soon. My symptoms have just started getting worse. I had them a little while ago, but now they're bad. So my time is not looking good. So you have the situation now where it's just all of these wretches are fighting against Marcus and Barrick. They're able to hold them off. They can take them down. They're looking good until a portion of the city collapses under them and sinks. Since we're not going to get to the revelation in the story of Barrick about what's going on, I will tell you now. Montevideo, the seismic activity, is the riftworm slowly circling and about to take the city down. Right now, they are standing where the riftworm is before they all go crumbling down. Portions of the city are going, but not the whole thing yet. They go down, they survive, Marcus is fine, he's able to get through, and he's like, is everyone okay? Are you doing okay, Barrick? Barrick comes out, the majority of his armor has been damaged and destroyed. He's currently walking around with half of it gone. His hair is undone. He has taken a bit of a beating. But he says he's still fine and he's okay. So they continue forward and they decide, okay, we need to find a way to regroup with Jace and Dom. While they're going, more of Rustlung is explained, like, hey, that's what happened to us. Other people have gotten it. Rustlung is Rustlung, There's not much else we can do. He's basically telling them, like, look, if there has to be any decisions that have to be made about who's staying behind, life or death, I got your answer right here. That's basically what he's alluding to. So they go through. They do find Jason Dom, and they're being attacked by heart leeches, a ton of them. They come in, save the day. At this point, throughout the entire journey, their ammo was basically spent. Remember that APC they were in? That's gone. Remember when they were going to the Raven? Raven's gone. The rat bikes they left behind, they are very sparse on ammo. There's not a lot left in general. So they continue to make their way out. They're going through, and it comes to the point where a wall is collapsed in from a corpser, and it dials itself back, and they're all like, okay. Out come the beast riders. Out come the beast mounts. The locusts that ride the creatures that go through and attack, they are now on the scene, and they are very quick. They are fast. They have got guns. While they're all escaping, the decision is made that Jace and Dom need to keep going because Marcus does not explicitly say this. It's what they figure out is that these are the younger 2. These are the 2 that can make it out. So as the squad leader, he's staying behind. Barrick's older. Let's get the young ones out. Barrick and Marcus are looking at each other like, we're low on ammo. We don't have a lot of options here. And Barrick basically tells him, rips off the last of his armor. Guns are down. Get going. I'll hold them off. You got to get going. They need a squad leader. They need you. I'm already going to be dying anyway. I'm not long for this world. I will stay. Marcus does do it begrudgingly. He does go because even Marcus understands, they are going to need me. Barrick is right. Marcus never normally will leave anyone behind. It's very rare, or there has to be a specific reason why he would ever do it. This is one of those things where Barrick is like, I've already accepted I'm going to die. I already know that this is probably it. They're going to need you. I know I can hold them back. You need to go. And Marcus does. And this is the most badass moment from the entire story. Barrick goes in barehanded and starts beating the living piss out of locusts. I cannot do this justice by telling you just outright what happens. You need to read this comic. You need to see what he does. The most famous page Barrick ever had is, I'm not kidding you, this is legitimately serious. With all the lore we've covered with Locust, how deadly they are, just as a single drone itself, he can pull them apart barehanded in half. And he's fighting them with his bare hands and killing a good amount of them. Now here's the thing you also need to understand, rust lung. Rust lung, not only are you dying from it, but it triggers rage, adrenaline, all of that to the max. You basically become temporarily the Incredible Hulk. And he is definitely using some rust lung rage at this moment. I cannot think of a reason how he can do this without it. But he goes in, ripping them in half, just killing left and right, bare fists. Now again, he's unarmored. He doesn't have any ammo. Sooner or later, a Beast Rider does come from behind and does shoot him down. But he gives the other three enough time to escape, make it to the surface. They're able to get out of there. They deal with a berserker. They're everywhere for some reason, but they are able to make it out. Barrick's story ends in the hollow, taking down as many as he can just with his bare hands. And I will tell you right now, that is the most metal thing I have ever heard of in my life. And that's Barrick. That's his story, and that's what we're sticking with. Really fun character. I love him to death. Just his intensity and just his sheer, like, cold demeanor sometimes when he's killing locusts. I love it. The ending when he's killing them barehanded, love it. Some fun facts about him. Like I said, they based his idea off of Lemmy Kilmeister. That is, it blows my mind. I love it so much because I'm a huge fan of Lemmy. Well, I was. I still am. I always will. The music lives forever. And when he died, I was actually very saddened because I was already a fan of Motorhead, but when it came to like the WWE, it pushed me even to more fan levels. When I first got into Brutal Legends, and he's a character in the game, more level. He was through the roof. I loved him. The stories and myths from the days of metal in the 80s. You know, Lemmy had so many. Like, he'd drink a bottle of Jack every morning, every day for his life for 40 years. Crazy. You know, it's just these stories, and it was like a legend had passed. You know, so I loved how he was based off of Lemmy. It's a great homage, in my opinion. Again, it's not an identical thing. They're just basing the idea of him off of Lemmy Kilmeister. But another thing that's interesting to talk about is when it comes to Barrick, Barrick is actually one of the reasons why Gears of War currently will no longer have any smoking in it. As you've probably noticed in the DLC in 5, he does not have his signature cigar with him. He doesn't have any of that. He just goes in just without. That is because Rob Ferguson, at the time when they first were releasing Gears 5, decided they were not going to have anything involving tobacco at all, because they just decided, you know, we're popularizing it, making it look like a badass with a cigar. We don't want to promote it, which I understand. His father had passed from things involving tobacco. I understand that. Here, quick rant, and we'll be done, okay? This is not my, well, I guess it kind of is, but it's not my ballpark to make says on. Here's the thing. I understand that. I agree. As someone who is straight edge, the idea of not promoting, that's I'm 50-50 on. Like, I see it as like, you know, I'm not a fan of it. Other people can. It's your choice what you want to like or do. It's not mine. It's your life to live, not my life. I live my life the way I want. Live yours the way you want. So, in my mind, yeah, sure. Take away the idea of promoting it. But for characters that have it or have a reason for it, give them their stuff. You know, it's weird because, like, you'll take away tobacco, but you won't take away alcohol. Because you have Oscar, who is confirmed, even in 5, is an alcoholic. You have Dizzy, who is an alcoholic. You have alcohol in general in the series. That kills quite a bit of people. Okay? Like, I'm not trying to, like, do what you want in your life, drink responsibly. Little personal story that it irks me that when I talk about this, the situation with the smoking that leads into this. But my grandmother, over a month ago, passed away from alcohol-related causes. Alcohol killed her, okay? I have a friend battling alcoholism, okay? If you are going to get rid of smoking, get rid of all of it. Don't put Oscar in the game as an alcoholic, okay? Don't. Barrick has his cigar. Story-wise, it is a very, very nice addition because he is dying of rust lung. Rust lung is killing him. He smokes the cigar because I'm going to die anyway, and this is like my thing. I'm going to die, the cigar is not going to kill me, whatever. If you have a 7-year-old smoking 2 cigars in his mouth like he's Smoker from One Piece, yeah, maybe don't give the kids cigars. Barrick is a grown man. Barrick is already dying from something. The nuance of his rust lung in the cigar works incredibly well. Don't. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, that'll do it for Barrick's video. I love it to death. I love so many things. Like I said with Lemmy and all that, the lighter, the story of how it went from him to Jace, and Jace carried it all this time. Sooner or later, it did make its way to the memorial wall where Barrick is remembered, but that journey of the lighter, I love it so much. It's a great story, and I love Barrick. For anyone who hasn't read Hollow, please read Hollow. It is amazing. It is well done. The characters are well done. You get more like the internal thought process of Jace. We'll get to that when we get to his video at the very end of everything, but it's just well done. It's one of my favorite comics. I would say it's probably right now my third favorite. I think number 1 is going to be Baron. It'll always be Baron, because Baron's really good. Number 2 is the Hivebusters comic series, and then I think after that, you're going to get Hollow. I think Hollow is number 3. Then you get Rise of Rom, you get some of the other minor comics, but no matter what, like, top 3 for me. I love it to death. So, I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank everyone for making this possible, and thank the patrons for making this possible. We'll go over some videos next week. Next month, we'll cover another character. We'll see who it is through the polls. I love you all to death. Later!